to convene the meeting of the August 3rd, 2017 Little Rock Planning Commission. So all welcome, and we'll just have roll call right now.
Chairman Berry.
Here.
Vice Chair Bubbas.
Here.
Commissioner Bynum.
Here.
Commissioner Cox. Commissioner Dillon. Commissioner Finney.
Here.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Here.
Commissioner Leahy. Here. Commissioner LaTour.
Here.
Commissioner May.
Here.
And Commissioner Stebbins.
Here.
You do have a quorum.
Okay, great. Do I hear a motion for the approval of the minutes of the June 22nd meeting, please?
Yes, I move for approval of the June 22nd meeting minutes.
Second.
I have a motion seconded for the approval of the minutes, June 22nd. Those approve, raise your right hand. And those who do not approve. Okay, minutes have been approved. For those who are not used to this process, we start with the consent agenda, and we'll be reading items that are not controversial. And so just hang in there. And of course, some of you are on the consent agenda, so be sure to listen up. And then staff will be going through that first before we get to the regular agenda. Staff?
Do we have any cards on any items other than number 5?
No, sir.
Okay. Little Rock Planning Commission Planning Rezoning Conditional Use Hearing Consent Agenda for August 3rd, 2017 consists of the following items. On consent approval, item 1, file G23467, Wellington Village Road right-of-way abandonment, the southeast corner of Wellington Village Road at Wellington Hills Road. Staff recommends approval of the request to abandon the excess right-of-way for Wellington Village Road, subject to the area of the abandonment being retained as utility easements, as noted in paragraph G of the staff report. Item 2, file Z9237, rezoning from R2 to C4 at 10,010 Interstate 30. Staff recommends approval of the requested C4 zoning. Item number 3, file Z9233, 603 West Markham, commercial parking lot, conditional use permit located at 603 West Markham Street. Staff recommends approval of the requested conditional use permit, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in sections 4, 5, and 6 of the agenda staff report. Item number 4, file Z9234, long accessory dwelling conditional use permit located at 19 River Valley Road. Staff recommends approval of the requested conditional use permit, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in sections 4, 5, and 6 of the agenda staff report. Staff also recommends approval of the requested front setback variance. Item number 6, file Z9236, TBA Holdings accessory dwelling conditional use permit located at 127 Vernon Avenue. Staff recommends approval of the requested conditional use permit, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in sections 4, 5, and 6 of the agenda staff report. Staff also recommends approval of a variance from the code provision that the property owner reside on the site. Item number 7, file Z9238, Pettigrew Daycare Center, conditional use permit located at 3101 Asher Avenue. Staff recommends approval of the requested conditional use permit, subject to compliance with the following conditions. Number 1, compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in sections 4, 5, and 6 of the agenda staff report. Number 2, compliance with all applicable building code and fire department requirements for use of the building for a daycare center. Number 3, signage is to comply with that allowed in office and institutional zones, and sign permits must be obtained before any signage is placed on the site or on the building. Staff also recommends approval of an 18-month deferral of the requirement to install a paved and landscaped parking lot to comply with code standards. The last item on the consent agenda is item 8, file G25220, West 65th Street name change to Hindman Park Way. This is West 65th Street located west of University Avenue. Staff recommends approval of the request to change the name of that portion of West 65th Street located west of University Avenue to Hindman Park Way. And that concludes the consent agenda.
Thank you, staff. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Yes, I move for approval of the consent agenda with all staff recommendations and comments.
I'll second.
Well, you have a motion that's made and seconded to approve the consent agenda as read. Those approved, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay. Consent agenda is approved. Those who were read into the consent agenda, you're certainly welcome to leave, or you're welcome to stay. As we transition to the regular agenda, we just have one item for Archwood. I do want to remind the speakers, of which we have several cards, that there is a 20-minute limit on for those that are speaking against this item, and that is standard practice and is done out of respect for everyone and their schedule. So it's not a raucous presidential debate or a town hall meeting. So there's a reason for that, and I will call in certain order unless you have a spokesman that you want to go first. First, the staff's going to read their write-up on it. Staff?
Item number 5, File Z 9235. This is Truth and Transitions Homeless Shelter Conditional Use Permit located at 7109 Archwood Drive. Conditional use permit is requested to allow for the use of the existing residence on this R2 zoned lot as a 13-bed homeless shelter. The property contains a one-story, 1,706 square foot single-family residential structure. The applicant began use of the structure for the homeless shelter without proper zoning approval and was issued a notice to cease that use or to file for the conditional use permit, which the applicant has done. Section 8-406A of the city's Building and Building Regulations Ordinance, which addresses the minimum area per dwellings, requires 150 square feet for the first occupant and 100 square feet for each additional occupant. The minimum area for a residence occupied by 13 persons is 1,350 square feet. This residence does contain 1,706 square feet. Section 8-406B, the minimum area per bedroom, again out of the building regulations, requires 70 square feet for the first occupant and 50 square feet for each additional occupant of a bedroom. According to that section, the following is the minimum required area for each bedroom and the occupancy proposed by the applicant. The master bedroom has 150 square feet, 2 beds are proposed. Bedroom 2 has 143 square feet and 2 beds are proposed. Bedroom 3 has 108 square feet and 1 bed is proposed. The study has 125 square feet and 2 beds are proposed, and the den has 340 square feet and 6 beds are proposed. All of the numbers do comply with the building code as far as the amount of square footage for the dwelling as well as the sleeping areas. The separation, spacing, and procedural requirements for homeless shelters as outlined in the Code of Ordinance, they're to be determined by the Planning Commission so as not to adversely impact the surrounding properties in the neighborhood. Unless the Commission determines that a different area is more appropriate, a neighborhood is defined as an area incorporating all properties lying within 1,500 feet of the site for which the permit is requested. And this is in addition to the development standards and review guidelines established for all conditional use permit applications in Section 36107. Issues that the Planning Commission will consider during its review of such facilities include, but are not limited to, the spacing of existing similar facilities, the existing zoning and land use pattern, the maximum number of individuals proposed to be served, the number of employees proposed, and the type of services being proposed. Provisions for readily accessible public or quasi-public transportation, and access to support services such as social service agencies, employment agencies, and medical service providers. Within the code-defined area, neighborhood area of 1,500 feet from the site, the predominant use is single-family neighborhoods extending to the east and south, and Boyle Park extending to the north and the west. Other uses within 1,500 feet of the site are a church located at 2924 Ware, that's approximately 1,200 feet, and a church located at 7201 West 32nd, again approximately 1,200 feet from the site. Just beyond the 1,500-foot distance are a church and a daycare at 6724 West 32nd, about 1,600 feet, a daycare at 3200 Bryant, approximately 1,700 feet, and a Little Rock School District Elementary and Learning Academy campus at the southeast corner of 32nd and Bryant is approximately 1,800 feet. There do not appear to be any similar facilities in the area. As you read through the agenda, you saw the comment from Rock Region Metro that there is no readily accessible public transportation. The nearest Rock Region Metro bus route is located on South University Avenue, approximately 0.83 miles to the east. Although the square footage of the house and the proposed sleeping areas appear to meet the minimum standards of Chapter 8, it leaves no or very little common living area. It appears that all rooms, save the kitchen and bathrooms, are being proposed for sleeping. It's staff's opinion that the proposed 13-bed shelter is too intense a use for this site. The use is not compatible with, and in staff's opinion, will negatively impact other properties in the area. Staff does recommend denial of the conditional use permit.
Thank you, staff. Is applicant here? Would you come forward, please, and state your name, and you're certainly welcome to make a full presentation. Remind you there's a 20-minute limit on that, or if you would like to wait to hear the concerns of the neighborhood, you can do that. So would you like to make a presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, my name is Henry Passardian, and I am the owner of the property on Archwood, 7109 Archwood. It's been a rental house for about the last 18 years. And we started this ministry, it's called Truth and Transitions, to help people that, for whatever reason, are having trouble getting back on their feet again after issues, maybe drug abuse, alcohol abuse. Some people, we've got veterans that don't necessarily have any abuse issues, but they're just having problems getting back on their feet. And so the ministry itself is to provide a safe and secure environment that is controlled and supervised. And that's what appealed to me initially. Not only do we want to help the residents that are living there, but we also want to make a safe and secure environment for the neighborhood. Because I've had renters there even just as lately as last year that I had no control over, that were publicly intoxicated, making all kinds of noise, trouble to the neighborhood. We've had issues with complaints, and they're behind locked doors, they're paying their rent. There's very little I could do as a landlord to enforce any kind of control problems that we had. The environment we have now, we have a home leader there that monitors the situation, and if there are issues, we don't allow alcohol, we don't allow any drugs of any kind unless they're prescribed. If there are issues that we have trouble dealing with, some of these people have a parole officer that we can contact or a caseworker, depending on what the situation is. And so we have other resources available to make sure that the people that are living there are in this safe and secure environment that we're looking for. I think we're a benefit to the community of Little Rock. My understanding is that there's a need for this. There's a big need for this. Otherwise, the people would get out of prison or whatever they came from, and they have no place to live. Their family is not available to them in many cases. They go back to an environment where they are not accountable for their actions, and they get back into the same habits that they had before. We try to provide them with a job immediately where they can start making payments toward their stay there, toward the food, and within a 2-month period, a temporary time for them to get back on their feet. Now, Truth in Transitions is a ministry. It's faith-based, so we encourage them to not only do Bible studies there, but also attend a church service. We have a church for them if they don't have one already, or they can choose their own as far as that's concerned. So my question to all of you, and I'm not sure how many are here on this case, but I assume most of you, we see this as a benefit to the community of Little Rock. If it's not a benefit, then we don't need to exist. If it is a benefit, then I would ask that you consider that and how we can make that work. I don't think we want to put the people that we have coming through there, might be 75 to 100 people in a year's time, to just go out on the street. And we already have a crime problem in Little Rock we're aware of. Just on the news last night, I think we've had 38 homicides this year, about one per week since the beginning of the year. And I don't think we need to add more criminal element to that. There's people that are desiring to get help and get back on their feet, and that's what we're trying to do. And I would encourage all my neighbors who have property around here, if there's issues there, whether we have a transition house, whether it's a rental house, you have my phone number. I wish you would call me. I always ask if people call me if there's a criminal activity going on, that you call the police first and call me second. But in any case, I'm on your side. I want a community, I want a residence, I want a neighborhood that is safe and secure, that people that live there can enjoy the community together. Now, I have two speakers. I don't know if you want what the sequence would be that would support my position.
That's up to you. Do it now or later. Now would be fine.
Well, I would like to hear maybe from the other neighbors and
Okay.
then have them come up.
All right. You
Okay.
certainly have that privilege. Okay. For those I have cards on, just want to remind you, keep in mind that we have a total of 20 minutes, so be thinking about that when you make your comments. And really probably won't be any need or opportunity to get up and speak again and wave your hand. So I'm sure all the points will be covered, and certainly want to hear your voices. So with that being said, let us begin with Melissa Tilling, 7101 Archwood.
Hello, my name is Melissa Teeling. I live 2 houses up from the resident in question that's the 7109. I was approached back at the 1st of March regarding this house, and it started operating shortly after that. I found out that they were in violation because I contacted the city. I also found out they've been continuing to operate because I've seen them there. They have vehicles that come and go at all hours of the night, various people that come through. Just Tuesday night, August the 1st, there was a person hiding out in the ravine right next to the house, waiting for a taxi cab to come pick them up. Didn't see them until they were moving to get into the taxi cab. That's kind of alarming when you go outside in the dark at night. There's vehicles in the driveway. They don't have license plates. When they do have a license plate, it's an out-of-state plate. I've noticed in Indiana, one of the neighbors has noticed one from Georgia, which seems kind of fictitious to me. I don't know what kind of activity's going on. It also states that there's going to be random drug tests to make sure they're in compliance. What kind of tests are these being done? Are they being done at a medical facility, or is this a at-home test that's being done that's not accurate, where the results could be varied? And I didn't know that the homeless were able to pay rent of $100 a week. When they arrived, they said they'd help them get a job. Well, if they get a job, they're not going to have a job when they first get there to be able to pay their $100 rent for the bed. There have been 11 different days since they've taken over this residence that has had the police called to their house. There's been 13 different incidents. There have been a few times where the police have not been able to find them to be able to make an accurate report. They've had terroristic threatening twice, theft of property, drug paraphernalia, criminal mischief, and shots fired, as well as a warrant arrest that was made. I do not want this near my residence because I have small children in my house. My neighbor also has small children that go to their house, not to mention this house is practically on top of Boyle Park. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Kamika Williams, 7105 Archwood Drive.
Good evening. My husband and I we bought the house right next door to 7109 Archwood. Since we've moved into the neighborhood, I've noticed a sense of community, and now that this is going on with our neighbors, I've really gotten a chance to meet all of you, and I appreciate your feedback on this situation, and I like the fact that we've all kind of come together on this. But my husband and I are both opposed to what's going on. Living directly next door, we see and hear a lot of things. One thing that's become a regular issue is the traffic, of course. Cars coming in and out, people talking outside in the yard or in the backyard loudly, police, a regular visit from the police, at least weekly. I haven't had the chance to research as much as Melissa has, as far as the activity that's going on. My husband was at home when there was some shots fired, and a young man that was living in the facility ran inside, changed his clothes, and then came back outside. I did have a chance to speak with the young man. I believe his name was Joshua. And he had explained to me that he had been in the program and how they were helping him, and we had a nice conversation. But I did, and coming away from that conversation, I do and still feel like this is a good thing that this ministry is doing. However, I don't feel like the location is appropriate. I think when people are no longer incarcerated, they do need a chance to re-enter society. And I think this is a good thing. I just don't think the location is good. It's too much activity, even though there's somebody that's supposed to be living in the facility monitoring what's going on. I don't think there's enough structure in the environment. And another thing that I am really tired of is picking up their garbage out of my yard. And that's all I had to say about the situation.
All right. Thank you. Danny York.
Hello. Danny York, 35 Talmadge. I'm directly across the ravine from this proposed site. Basically, the two speakers before, I think, said everything very well. I think it's a kind of a flawed plan to have that many residents in and out of this in an area that is already experiencing some issues with some homeless and transients in the area. So I think they've said everything, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Richard Higginbotham, please.
I'm just saying I'm opposed to it, and most of the issues have been addressed.
Okay, thank you. Mark Franks.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Franks. I live at number 1 Talmadge Court, a few blocks from the proposed shelter. I would like to, first of all, present to the board the remainder of the petitions we have gathered. 88 additional signatures, which we added to the 17 that we've already collected for a total of 200 and I believe 5 signatures opposing this. I want to just address a few of the basic red flags that came up for me whenever I read through the application and the accompanying letter to the board to explain what this ministry was trying to do. On the application for a conditional use permit form submitted by Mr. Poussardian, the zoning information was left blank. In fact, this area is zoned, the entire area is zoned R2 and R3 for residential single-family dwellings. And according to the city documents, this permits duplexes as a conditional use, not a homeless shelter. Page 1 of the accompanying letter to the Department of Planning and Development states the home at the subject address is included under a City of Little Rock business license number 144850. This is a business license allowing Mr. Poussardian to rent the property on Archwood, not operate a homeless shelter. So we would request a copy of Mr. Poussardian's license to operate a homeless shelter at this address. Page 2 states all income is derived from residents paying rent, with no funds coming from donations or government, and that a profit and loss statement is available upon request, which seems to indicate that TNT is a business entity. We request a copy of the said profit loss statement, and if TNT is a nonprofit entity, we would request verification of such status and a list of the board of directors. Page 1 states TNT has a homeless shelter license available upon request. There is no record of said license that's been found in public government records as of this date. We request a copy of or information regarding said license for TNT to operate a homeless shelter. On page 2 of the letter, Mr. Passardian states that applicants for residency will be referred to the facility by the Veterans Administration and Bridgeway. The Bridgeway admissions staff confirms that they have never heard of nor ever been given a referral to Truth and Transitions Homeless Shelter. And neither the director of the VA Day Treatment Center in Little Rock nor his staff has ever heard of Truth and Transitions. Contact information for these individuals at these organizations who will be making these referrals is hereby requested. Page 1 states the home is available to those who are homeless or with drug and or alcohol addictions who desire help and are willing to follow the published home rules. Page 2, however, clearly states TNT is a homeless shelter, not a rehab facility. If individuals need rehab, we do not take them in until after they have completed a rehab program at other facilities. Will this facility accept those with drug and alcohol addictions as stated on page 1 of the letter, or will they not be accepted as stated on page 2? Page 1 states that for each resident, quote, the current cost is $100 per week, unquote. However, this is not the true cost. According to the home rules, which Mr. Passardian presents to each resident when they sign on, each resident will actually pay $25 for a background check, $75 security deposit, $20 for food per week, which by the way is less than $3 a day to eat on, $100 for rent per week, which adds up to $220 for the first week, and then $120 per week afterward, not the stated $100 a week. Page 2 states that up to 13 residents will be accepted into the facility at any given time for up to 2 months each. The income generated from 13 residents staying for 2 months is $13,780, or $1,060 per resident for the 2-month period. Since residents must leave, according to the letter, after 2 months, 75 residents can be accommodated during the course of the year, which amounts to 78 homeless residents paying $1,060 each, thus generating $82,680 a year for Mr. Passardian from homeless people. This is a minimum, because if they don't last the 2 months, they're turned out and a new person comes in. So this could go much higher. Page 2 states TNT assists with immediate job placement and in the interim provides opportunities for residents to work for rent. Mr. Passardian offers no further explanation as to what is the nature of this work, who is the beneficiary of this free labor, how the work-rent ratio will be determined, or how the accrued work hours and rent payoff will be calculated and recorded. Due to these disturbing red flags, and these are only a few, and many others found in the application and the related documents, it would seem that Mr. Passardian has misrepresented to this commission and the surrounding neighborhoods the true nature of this proposed homeless shelter business. And I would strongly urge the commission to rule against granting this application for a conditional use permit. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you for those comments. Deborah Borland. Okay, thank you. Chuck Ballmer.
Good afternoon, Commission and Board. My name is Chuck Ballmer. I'm here to speak against the conditional use permit for 7109 Archwood. As noted in the application, The building is too small to house 13 people, does not have adequate parking or bus access. The building is too small for an additional live-in leader, any record storage, medicine lockup, mentoring, recreation, or rehabilitation. The building does not have proper kitchen or bathroom facilities for 13 people. The lack of sufficient exits presents a safety problem. Women with children will suffer from lack of privacy. Disputes, smoking, and visitors makes these problems worse. Medical issues or special needs makes these problems worse. The lack of space, inadequate building exits, and lack of transportation access will make these problems worse. For the safety of the residents, employees, volunteers, and neighbors, we respectfully request the permit be denied. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Joe Busby.
Good afternoon, Commissioner and Board. My name is Joe Busby, and I'm President of the University District Neighborhood Associations. That's the 9 neighborhoods that surround UA Little Rock. And Meriton Park and University West are my neighbors, and they asked me to speak in behalf of the University District. The University District accepts a lot of services for people in this city. We have Methodist Children's Homes. We have homes from Immerse. We accept properly run facilities. There's no question. We want to do our part to make our city better and realize that every neighborhood has to do its part. It's not a problem. But Truth in Transition doesn't operate that way. They're not listed with the IRS as of today as a 501c3. They're not listed with the Secretary of State incorporated as a business. So you have to take it that they are for profit because they have no other standing. And they're making their profit off of homeless in horrible conditions. As it was noted by staff, there's no common areas. You're either in a bedroom, in the kitchen, or you have to go outside to smoke. The only reason the house exceeds the dimensions demanded for per person square footage is the hallways of the house. I want to point out a few things that the guidelines and staff touched on. Space for these existing facilities, it's a residential neighborhood. There are no other similar facilities in the area. It's zoned R2. They talk about staff. They have no staff. They have a house leader, not trained in any services, has no authority over those people except to threaten to throw them out. 13 people in 1,700 square feet. They offer no services to the homeless there. No job training, no resume building, no job search help. Individuals that need rehab, do not take them in. So they say, we're not going to help you in any way. If the current residents deemed need it, they'll dismiss them. They're not helping these people. They're making money off them. They offer no accessible transportation. They have no transportation plan. Cars there are 4 to 6 a night, but they say in their application that the residents won't have cars. They're over almost a mile to the nearest bus stop. It's horrible. They say that they'll have volunteers transportate the individuals as needed, but they say they accept no donations. So where are these volunteers coming from? They have no other social services that they're connected to. The VA denies knowing them. Bridgeway denies knowing them. It's a horrible situation. But here's the biggest red flag that I want you to think about. They allow people to work off their rent, unmonitored, ungoverned. That's indentured servitude or slavery. And I leave that with the board to consider. I ask that you vote no. I ask that you give the neighborhood immediate relief and cause this home to cease and desist today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Busby. Okay, the applicant, now your time's back up to you.
Well, I feel like I've been roasted pretty good. I wish I did make the money that you think I do. Somebody mentioned the fact that when they first move in, they don't have a job. So obviously, we're not getting any money until they do get a job. I do have and I don't know if you want to present it now. I do have a profit and loss statement for July. It was the best month we had, and it was still in the negative number. So all those dollars that you're saying I'm making, I'm not making any of that.
That's okay. Yeah, just go ahead and speak to,
Oh,
you need
okay.
to speak to the, to
Okay.
us, that's okay.
I guess they're seeing my best side.
Yeah.
Anyway, we do have a shelter license. I can produce it. I have a copy of it right here. I'm not sure why they didn't find it. I'm not sure why they didn't find the contacts with Bridgeway and the VA, but I'm going to ask Paul Owens to come up because he can fill in some of those questions. And he also is a beneficiary of the program that we're patterned after. And he was the one that approached me in the beginning, was the co-founder of Truth and Transitions. And so he would like to give you a few minutes of his experience.
Okay. Coming up, please state your name, please.
Yeah, my name is Paul Owens. I was an addict for 40 years. I went in a halfway house like we're running. And maybe some people need to open their eyes on the other halfway houses, homeless shelter houses, because we ain't making no money, like he said. We show the rules, but if we get half of that money, we don't even get a half. We might get $700 a month. And we help these people. I mean, they need help. People like me, I need a help. And I'm trying to pay back what I got. I got on my phone Bridgeway. They call me every day begging me to take people. And if people out there need help, I mean, we got to help people. If we don't, I mean, I'm going to be back out there high again. I'm telling you. If I didn't have somebody helping me. And we do have church members. We do have cars come in. But sometimes church people. Now, I ain't saying that ain't people don't come in over there. I ain't guarding it 24 hours a day. But I'm telling you, we do need help. We do random drug tests. And the people we got in there now, we ain't got no felonies in there at all. We got one man got a closet bag on him. We got a man got a heart problem over there. And we got two young men. I go out here and find these people jobs myself. I spend my time finding them jobs where they can go to work. And yes, they need to pay their way. If not, if I didn't pay my way out of these places, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now today walking. I probably wouldn't be here. And police consider it anyhow. But yes, Bridgeway and the VA do know about us. I can show you on my phone. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up and state your name, please.
My name is Robert Steele. My name is Robert Steele. I am a program administrator with the Department of Human Services. And on June 9th, we had a young man in our custody who had spent about 4.5 years in our custody at Alexander. His parents abandoned him. He had nowhere to go. Matter of fact, 2 days before he was to be released, he would have been homeless and on the streets. The young man he was autistic. He had Asperger's, and he had Tourette's, and there was nowhere to put him at all. And 2 days before he was to be released, the program director, Eddie Merce, recommended that I look at Truth and Transition. And so I met Mr. Presidian and I met Paul, and I had a lot of questions for them because I know a little bit about transitional homes and how they're supposed to run. And I had tons of questions for them. And I concluded that this was a place that we could put this young man, and we did. I was over there about every couple of days because of his needs. He stayed until this past Sunday, which was June 30th, and he was taken to Hot Springs and put in a program called ACTI. While he was there, he didn't have any issues. He was well taken care of. Now, I was there a lot, We actually got him a job. He worked at Goodwill with Disability Services. They picked him up every day, took him to work, and brought him back. And there are services available. And so working with the Division of Youth Services, we have a lot of kids in our custody. We have a bulging 18 to 21-year-old population. I tell everybody, before there was Columbine, there was Jonesboro, and because the laws changed, we hold kids up to 21 years old. Those kids have nowhere to go. And so we have a great need for transition because many of those kids go out, they have no place to go, their parents don't want them back, and they cycle back through the system and just cost us tons of money. I mean, we go into red every year. And so with all that was presented here today, I concluded that it may not be a perfect transition home, but things can be corrected. It can be hoped. There is very much of a need, and they served this young man well. I got to know some of the residents there. I supported them with my own funds. They didn't charge one dime for this young man to stay there. All of his needs, he was on medication, all that was managed well. He was on probation, he had aftercare. There were a lot of people that was in there looking at this, including APS, Adult Protective Services, because we had a young man there. So there is a need for a transitional home, and they serve this young man well as any transitional. There's transitional homes that I have concluded that we wouldn't put our kids in at all, but we did put a kid here. And so I hope that there would be some kind of support for this transitional need. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Commissioners, questions, comments?
Is this the only facility that you all are operating currently?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you operated facilities elsewhere prior to?
We started about 14 months ago in Sherwood. We started approximately May of 2016 in Sherwood.
Okay.
And when this house became available, we moved it to this house.
Okay, got it. And the organization owns the home?
Me and my wife actually own the
personally?
home. Yes.
Okay.
And we have not filed a 501c3 yet. We plan to.
Okay.
We just haven't gotten to it.
Commissioner May.
Well, I applaud your efforts.
Thank you.
And I feel in my heart that you're trying to do the right thing. And who can't have sympathy for these people that have nowhere to go? But as a board, we have to look at all of these folks and their wants and desires. And this is just the wrong place for it. Okay. And it's too many people, even though I think you're hard. I hope you will. I really do hope you have success with this, but I can't in good conscience put it in. I wouldn't want it in my neighborhood like that situation. And I think that for 1,700 square feet, I had two daughters and had more square feet than that, and they were like to ran me crazy. But that's another story. But I wish you well, but I'm going to have to vote against it.
Thank you, Commissioner May. Any other commissioners? Commissioner Bubbas.
I was going to make a motion.
You betcha.
All right. I move for approval of item A with all staff recommendations and comments, except that of denial.
Okay. You heard the motion to approve the application as made with all recommendations except that of staff's recommendation for denial. So those who move for approval of this application, raise your right hand. And those opposed, application is denied.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Okay. There being no other agenda items, we are, staff, did you want to say something? Oh. We are open for citizens' communications, if there are any. Oh, come on up and state your name. Oh, Joe, okay. Oh, I thought you, sure.
I want to thank the commissioners for your vote today. I ask for immediate relief of this situation. What would be the process to end the homeless degradation to the neighborhood?
Staff, Sean, did you get any legal insight into what happens next?
The applicant does have 30 days during which he can appeal the Planning Commission's action to the Board of Directors. So, he has that time. If he does file the appeal, then it begins the process of going through another set of public hearings at the Board of Directors.
Okay.
So what immediate relief does the neighborhood have?
I'm sorry?
Is there any immediate relief for the neighborhood?
He'll receive notice of his application being denied and be instructed to come into compliance. Now, will not take any further action, enforcement action, because he does have that 30-day appeal period.
And at the end of 30 days, he has to comply.
If at the end of 30 days no appeal has been filed, then the city will move forward with action to remove the homeless shelter.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to get up and say something? Okay. We are in time for citizens' communications. Please state your name.
My name is Gina Estrada. I live in 7001. It's 4 house from that house. We are all, many people over there is retired, old people. That is only we have the house because we are paying our 401, our money, and paying in full that house. If you put it, that people over there, that is danger. That is danger because we are only, in my case, 2 old people live, almost 80 years, live there for a long time, for 21 years. And now you go and put in danger this place, put it as people. I'm sorry, I know maybe they can be good people, but right now they are not. And we know one in our neighbor.
You are aware that we denied their application to be there.
Okay, I'm saying everybody here.
Okay.
Because tonight we can sleep together.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
I wanted to say something. Can I stand up?
Just, sure.
What I wanted to say, thank you for Commissioner Bill May for expressing your analogy by bringing yourself to the people. You actually gave the best analogy for everybody in here by putting you wouldn't want it in your neighborhood. And that's exactly what I was looking for. And I thank you so well for that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We have another. Okay, come up to the microphone and please state your name, please.
My name is Barbara Ferris. I live 2 blocks from the house on Meriton Park Cove. No one has mentioned, but this is true, that is also a walkway for children who go to school at the elementary school and what will become the 7th and 8th grade. So that is a walkway. I see kids going up and down that street at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I want you to be aware of that too.
Thank you very much. There being no other business, we are adjourned.